Like any other car, Nissan is far from perfect. Owner reviews boil down to the fact that the car is not intended for long-distance travel. It is not recommended to drive it at speeds above 120 km per hour, it holds the road poorly. The engine is quite power-hungry, runs well up to 100,000 km, timely replacement of consumables and attachments is required, transmission, regardless of the type, it works reliably, you need to change some consumables and monitor the oil, the chassis is the most problematic part. When buying used cars, you should pay special attention to this. The interior, as in all budget cars, begins to rattle over time. The quality of the finish is not great, but generally acceptable. No particular problems were observed with the engines. Most owners are approaching 100,000 kilometers mileage. The starter failed. This was accompanied by unpleasant sounds from under the hood. The reason was the starter relay, which needed servicing. If you lubricated in time, you could avoid this trouble. The next thing you need to prepare for is replacing the generator pulley at a mileage of 120 to 150,000 kilometers. The timing drive on all engines is carried out by a chain, so the unit runs stably for up to 200,000 kilometers. The problem area in the Nissan Tiida C12 engine is the spark plugs. In order to replace them, you need to unscrew the intake manifold. To perform the operation less frequently, owners recommend installing good quality spark plugs, which are designed for 70 to 80,000 kilometers mileage. The car is equipped with a 5-speed manual or CVT. The mechanics work flawlessly. The clutch is changed at 120 to 150,000. On some cars the clutch cylinder needed to be replaced, as it began to suck air. Users have noticed minor faults with the variator. After 2 to 3 years of operation, it was necessary to change the gear selector drive tips, which were made of plastic and were subject to wear. Signs that replacement was required were random movements from mode D to N, and the inability to turn on the parking mode. On CVTs, it is important to change the oil every 60 to 80,000 kilometers. This will avoid many operational problems, make the car more dynamic and extend the life of the gearbox to 250 to 300,000 kilometers. The weakest point in this car is the suspension. It is not known for certain what surprises it can present to the owner. First of all, you need to pay attention to the stabilizer struts and bushings, which last up to a maximum of 30,000. This is especially true if you are purchasing a used car. What to prepare for next? With a mileage of 70,000 kilometers, a comprehensive replacement of support cups and bearings is required, as well as wheel bearings, which are replaced only when assembled with the hub. You will also have to change the silent blocks on the subframe. At 100,000 kilometers, it is necessary to replace the silent blocks of the levers, which also change along with the levers. The cost of all this repair is not particularly expensive, approximately at the level of domestic cars. The next dangerous defect is the rapid wear of the spline joints of the steering shaft. A signal for urgent repairs will be extraneous sounds when turning the steering wheel. For those who are economical, we can advise changing only 2 crosspieces. If the car is still being serviced by dealers, then insist on replacing the rear sight assembly. This is a factory defect that is corrected under warranty. The interior trim leaves much to be desired, as with all cars in this price category. Over time, various extraneous sounds appear, which become more and more numerous. The steering wheel finish lasts an average of 3 years, after which it requires replacement or installation of the braid. Sound insulation is of an average level, so if possible, it is better to glue the interior right away before it becomes loose. When it comes to electrical equipment, the problems are in the details. The air conditioner switch often fails. The stove motor begins to make sounds, which just needs to be lubricated. If this is not done on time, the motor will need to be replaced. The heater resistor fails over time and needs to be replaced. Getting to the stove motor yourself is very problematic. Problems have also been noticed with the comfort unit, which can spontaneously turn on the lights. There are no such problems in the welcome package. Here is a short review of the Nissan Tiida. Overall it is no worse, but not particularly better than other cars. When buying a used car, pay attention to its weak points and check it at a service center. Then, after weighing all the pros and cons, make a purchasing decision. For city driving, the car shows good results and, with careful use, easily runs for 4 to 5 years. The most important thing is to pay attention to the little things and change consumables on time. Large investments up to a mileage of 130 to 150,000 kilometers the car does not require, after which it is necessary to replace the clutch, repair the chassis, and diagnose the manual transmission. The car is one of the most reliable for its category. The cost of operation and maintenance is inexpensive. Fuel consumption is within reasonable limits. In general, we can firmly rate the car as a 4+. Perfect for a family car with low daily mileage.